excited and proud of our players for us still playing at this time of the year. Only 8 teams left in the country. I don't know how many Division II teams there are when we start, but there's a ton of them, and to be down to the final 8 and to be one of them is a accomplishment in itself. At the same time, we've been in this position 3 years ago, and we didn't make the next step. Hadn't won the region in quite a while at UNA, and so it's a big challenge for our players. They've done a lot of things this year, win the 4th conference championship in a row, and now get us this far. But you know, each week is another goal, and this goal would be to win the region and represent the South in the continuation of the tournament. So we got to take one game at a time. We got a tough game this week with North Greenville because it's kind of a repeat. It's the same thing as last week as our routine and playing in Brawley Stadium, and the same thing as playing North Greenville here earlier in the season. And to beat the same team twice is always a challenge. There's no advantages. The only advantage is that we're playing in Brawley Stadium, but there's not an advantage to either team because we've already played each other. They know all the advantages we'd get from playing them, they got from playing us. So it's just we've got to do the things that we've been doing all year long, be consistent, and we've done that each week. And if we continue to be consistent and give our best effort, then we'll live with the outcome. And that's kind of the challenge for our players, but just because we won the first game does not mean that it automatically will happen again. They're here for a reason. North Greenville's got an outstanding football team. Their quarterback's thrown for over 3,000 yards. The collection of their running backs has rushed for over 2,000 yards, and so I mean it's a strong challenge. Best offensive line in Division II that we've played this year. I can't say they're better than Jacksonville State, but they're the best that we've played since then. So it's a big challenge for our defense to stop the running game and then not give up any plays in the passing game. Offensively, we had a lot of yards against them last year, but we turned the ball over, including the first play of the game. We threw an interception. We fumbled the ball on the half-yard line going into the end zone on a run. Those are the kind of things that we can't do this week. And so, hopefully we'll have a great week of practice, and our players will understand what's at stake, what the opportunity they have ahead of them, and we'll come and play well Saturday.
Coach, one advantage obviously is that you guys are playing at home and you bring out a huge crowd. How big is that advantage now, second game in a row in the playoffs being out?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm really proud of the crowd we had last week. I mean, with the Thanksgiving, the students out of town, the people traveling, the Auburn, Alabama game, I thought it was an outstanding crowd, and I appreciate every one of them that were in the stands. And again, we need more this week because they don't have those distractions. We're fortunate the SEC championship game's an hour later than the Auburn, Alabama game was. So people have plenty of time with a noon kickoff to watch us and get home in time to watch the SEC championship game. And that is a big thing in this state. I mean, we don't deflect that or look the other way. I mean, that's or deny it or whatever you want to say. But the bottom line is we've got a big game, a huge game, and probably a more important game. I'd imagine if Alabama loses, they'll still get to play in the championship, and if we do, we're done. So we've got a huge game, and we do need a crowd to be sure to motivate us, help motivate us, and it's always other thing it's an impressive thing. People don't realize these other Division II schools come in here. They don't have what we have. I mean, we're very fortunate, and some of them will, but not many. And when they come in and see that kind of a crowd, now I can say this: when I was in college, playing at LSU was always a motivating factor for me because it was such a great place to play. And I'm sure Brawley's the same to them. It motivates them too. But it's also impressive that UNA, our community, has such a strong support base, and that's a very impressive thing.
You have played this team before. I know you say it's not an advantage because you guys both played each other. But what have you watched from the film that you guys are taking into this week that you guys are really honing in on, focusing on for Saturday from that game?
Well, from that game, the biggest thing I see are the mistakes we made in that game. the fumble going into the end zone, the interception, 2 interceptions. We had 300 and something yards total offense at halftime, and the score was 24-14. We can't let it stay that close if we're playing that well by our own mistakes. And so, again, we've got to be consistent, and that just comes from practice, and hopefully have a good week. But that's the biggest thing I take from the fact. And their running back's a great player. I mean, all of them. I mean, they like I said, the running back that they list as a starter is not the guy that's rushed for 100 yards the last 4 games in a row, but yet he has 1,000 yards this year, the backup, and the starter had 1,000 yards last year. So they've got depth at running back, and they're going to run the outside zone as well as anybody can run it, and they're very well coached in the offensive line to run that particular play, and they run it out of a lot of formations, and it's very difficult to stop. They cut the backside linebackers and defensive linemen, and they cut you off. And with our speed on defense, we're going to over-pursue. I mean, that's just the natural thing. And the only really big run they had, it wasn't a big, I don't think it was about a 15-yard run last game, was when he cut back on our fast defense. So we've got to be disciplined in being sure we take the cutback away from them.
Coach, what's the secret sauce to this team that maybe you guys didn't have last year?
It's a great question, because coming into the season, we didn't know we had it. I didn't know we had it. Maybe the players thought that they had it, but it's like any great season, and I always talk about intangibles. I always talk about, you win with talent, sound coaching, and the intangibles of the game. All 3 of them. It takes all 3. Players win games. You got to have talent. Coaches can mess it up by putting players in position to not be successful. So you got to have sound coaching. And the third thing are those intangibles, which is leadership, unselfishness, work ethic, discipline, all the things that, and you don't know that you have it until the season's over and you look back. I can go back to the 3 championship years. We didn't know that team. You can go back and look at all the instances where the intangibles made a difference, but you don't know it until after you do it. And if this team stays together and stays consistent and through 3 more games, then it'll be one of the most consistent football teams I've ever coached in the intangibles of all the things. I mean, just like Dorsey here, great player. He rotates with 2 other safeties that are great players, James Rivers and Kyle Jackson. Well, a lot of players would be pouting because they're not in there on every play. Not just Dorsey, but Kyle or James. An example of the depth we have. Same thing, we play 6 linebackers. We play, until we had injuries, we played a lot of corners. We just moved Jalen Jackson from offense to defense in the 10th game of the season. He's coach wherever you want me to go, whatever helps the team. Those are intangibles that people don't see during the game. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And this team has really proven to have tremendous intangibles and leadership. Stephen's one of our top leaders on offense, and Jacob Tucker. I mean, gosh, the leadership on this team. And the thing is that they like to play football too. That's why they've been consistent. It doesn't matter who we're playing. They like to play the game of football. And that's really helped us this year.
Going into this game, obviously you beat them earlier in the season, so they obviously naturally would probably like to beat you this time, get some revenge. Do you prefer being the team that's being hunted with a target on your back, or the team that's hunting, kind of going for that revenge factor?
You have to be able to handle, back in the 90s we won, we went 3 seasons without losing a Division II game. We were ranked number 1 for 28 weeks in a row. And that's a long time ago, that's over 20 years ago, but I experienced that. And I saw how the players handled that. And the thing that, being the one that's, not the underdog, and the fact that we did beat them, we've got to be able to overcome we got to be just as motivated as they are, is the best way of putting it, and have pride in playing to the top of our game every week. Not play into an opponent's, level, and not having a, up and down, good one game, bad one game. being consistent. That's the same thing I keep saying all year long. And I think that that's the whole key. But I'd rather be the hunted because that means we didn't lose.
Stephen, y'all made it so bad last time. Is it hard to get up for this team and stay as motivated as they used to be if you were playing a different team?
No, not at all. Just because, like you said, we did beat them last time, so we know it's the playoffs going this time, and it's win or go home. So we definitely don't want to go home. We want to keep, our momentum going up on offense and defense, along with the special teams, which has come a long way these past few weeks. So I don't find it as difficult to get up and, play this team that we've already played before.
They're saying like a rematch?
I mean, they're in our way for our goal, and our goal is to be playing December 17th. And, I mean, whether we're playing the same team or not playing the same team, we have to, win to continue to get to our goal. So, I mean, whether we're playing them or not, doesn't really matter to us. We're just trying to achieve our goal, which is being the national champion. And if North Greenville is in our way, then that's just the opponent we have.
Stephen, back to that first game, y'all had 600-something yards of total offense. Do you remember everybody just clicking that night?
Everyone was healthy. We were clicking, we were talking, which was the main point. Communication is big on the O-line. Had to point out who he's going to get, who you're not going to cut loose, and just communication was key for that night, and getting all those yards from the air and on the ground too.
Steve, the offense starts with the offensive line play. Have you seen any difference in the North Greenville defensive play since the last game?
I've seen a little bit of shift in movements, but not too much. We know it's the same players, so obviously they're going to try and switch up a little bit of their defensive fronts or how they're going to bring people down. But we know the players and how they're going to play, so I feel like that gives us a little bit of advantage. But at the same time, they're going to be as hungry as we are. So we're just going to have to come with our A game.
Bobby, what are they doing better now than they were doing when they played you guys?
Well, first of all, the quarterback's he doesn't turn the ball over. He does a great job. 20-something touchdowns, I think it's 23, and 4 interceptions on the year. And so anytime you don't turn the ball over, you got a chance to stay in a game. And then, of course, they're running the football. Like I said, they're using a bigger back more. Number 2 is 6 foot, 195, where the other one's a little more smaller and shiftier. But that's not really a big. I mean, they're both good players, so I don't see the issue there. And I think they were a good team when we played them. We just had a really good game on offense, had 650 yards, and defensively we gave up more points than I guess anybody besides Jacksonville State. I don't know. They gave up 20-something points, and that's not like our defense either. So I thought they were a good team then. Maybe if the thing is, if you don't play your best, a break here and a break there, and all of a sudden things look a little different. So we've got to come, like Stephen said, with our A game and play the best that we can play. And whatever that is, we can't worry about them that much. They'll worry about ourselves.
Coach, you've had so much success here. When you came back in 2012, what was the unfinished business?
3 things. First of all, I like living here. I mean, that's the show's a wonderful place to live. And I have a lot of love for UNA. I'll always be a UNA fan, no matter when, whenever I quit coaching or whatever, and supporter. And the second thing was to get back to recruiting high school players mainly. We're adding a few junior college players, getting the players graduating, which we're going to have 4 graduate at break this semester, and quite a few more in May and next year. But getting back to that point and developing the intangibles and not relying on as much transfers, I didn't like. From the outside looking in, that didn't make me proud. Winning was okay, but is that the way you're going to do it? I didn't like it. Everybody knows that. And then the third thing, and I think we've proven that we can win under those conditions. And then the third thing was, obviously I mentioned it then, so I can mention it now. The Division I thing, and that's taken longer than we thought, but that's just the way it goes. So still But that's not anything to talk about today. So, those are the issues, and I think we've accomplished the winning one and getting to be here and live in this community, and I'm very proud of what our players have done.
Coach, I talked about the defense last week without Levi back there. How different was it? Felt like it went pretty smooth.
Yeah, it was definitely different. Levi's definitely one of the leaders in our secondary. He's a 4-year starter, along with Filbert Marshall and Maurice Carnell. He's one of the best cornerbacks I've ever played with. He's big on communication, and for our secondary, that's one of the biggest keys to success. And it's tough on us, but we still have our end goal, and we want to make Levi proud. So it was different playing without him, but the game will still continue to be played. We still put on our shoulder pads another day, unlike a lot of other teams, which we're thankful for. So we're just here to handle business, and we're going to make Levi proud.
Talk about the hit last week. Yeah. Seems to get everybody pumped up.
It's not. I mean, I just seen the one of the Pembroke players, trying to tackle Filbert Marshall, and one of our keys is win all 3 sides of the ball, and that's offense, defense, and special teams. And that was a special team play. A play a lot of people take off on. Filbert just set it up perfectly. Everything worked well, and he returned it, got the momentum back, which is what we want. If we can't find something working on offense or defense, then we can win in the third stage of the game, which is special teams. So, it was a cool hit.
Dorsey, like Coach said, North Greenville has had very few interceptions to turnovers and play a very efficient style of ball. How do you, as a safety, prepare for that?
I think we prepare more mentally. Actually, we've been watching the film on them already, and I think the difference from this team now and the team we played, I think they've kind of found their rhythm. They're not really doing much different, but they've kind of found what's working, and they kind of put the pieces to the post, and I think we as a defense are going to be challenged, and I think we're up for it.
Mike, watched the film last week. Anything stand out?
During the game, I think Dorsey just touched on it, the special teams. We dominated the special teams last Saturday, which was unbelievable. Jeb Millender had 44-yard net punt. One great play was Kyle Jackson on that first big punt where their dangerous punt returner had a lot of grass in front of him besides Kyle, and he tackled him. Obviously, Kevin Hinkie had a 50-yard field goal and a 44-yard field goal. Our kickoff coverage was great. Filbert Marshall basically broke the game open with the punt return we're talking about, had another punt return and averaged 20 yards a punt return. Our punt team did a great job, like I mentioned, with the net punting. So the kicking game, to me, and again, the same thing that's kind of stood out all year long was the hitting. And Dorsey's hit was one of the big hits of the game. Hayden Henderson had another one, and they both on special teams. His was on the kickoff. And so, that was, to me, because we always talk about trying to win in all 3 phases, and, it's pretty obvious offensively we've been clicking with 40-something yards a game for the year, and defensively 11 yards. But how do you judge special teams, and that's really kind of just judged on the team during the film watching, and we really had a great game in the kicking game.